Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into a fundamental business puzzle. How does a company decide just how much stuff to make? We're going to explore the hidden costs that come with getting bigger and find out why, for a lot of businesses, bigger isn't always better. So let's start with a thought experiment. It's Friday night, your favorite pizza spot is slammed, and the wait is forever. Why don't they just, hire 20 chefs to crank out the pies? It seems like a simple solution, right? But the answer to that question reveals a core principle that pretty much every business on the planet has to live by. To really get our heads around this, we're going to follow the journey of a fictional company. We'll call them campus sweaters. By watching the choices they make, we're going to see how these big, kind of abstract economic ideas actually play out in the real world. Okay, let's tackle the first big question, the short-run puzzle, and how many workers to hire. So imagine you're running campus sweaters. You've got your factory, you've got your equipment. Now you have to figure out how many people to bring on board right now to fill this week's orders. This is the short-run puzzle. Now, in economics, when we say the short run, we don't mean a specific amount of time, like a week or a month. It's really any period where at least one of your key resources is fixed. You're stuck with it. For campus sweaters, their factory and their single knitting machine are set in stone for now. The only thing they can change on the fly is their number of employees. So they hire their first worker who makes 4 sweaters a day. Not bad, but here's where it gets interesting. They hire a second worker, and together they produce 10 sweaters. So that second person didn't just add 4 sweaters, they added 6. This is called increasing marginal returns. It happens because they can start to specialize, divide up the work, and just operate more efficiently as a team. Okay, so they're on a roll. They hire a third worker. But this time, the total output only goes from 10 sweaters to 13. The new person only added 3 sweaters. What happened? Why the sudden drop-off? Well, you've now got 3 people all trying to share that one knitting machine. They're starting to get in each other's way, waiting for their turn. And this brings us right back to our pizza kitchen. The first couple of cooks can coordinate, they speed things up, but you keep adding more and more people into that same tiny space, you just get chaos. And this isn't just a kitchen problem, it is a fundamental law of production. And this is it, the big one, the law of diminishing returns. Basically, if you keep adding a variable input like workers to a fixed input like one machine, you will always hit a point where each new worker is less productive than the one before them. It is an unavoidable reality for almost every single business. You can see the whole story right here in this chart. Worker 1 adds 4 sweaters. Worker 2 is the star player, adding 6. That's the absolute peak of their productivity. But then, with worker number 3, the law of diminishing returns kicks in hard, and their individual contribution drops all the way down to 3. All right, let's move on. We see the production issue, but now let's see how this translates directly into money. Because, how many sweaters each person makes is one thing, but what the business owner really cares about is how much it costs to make each sweater. And this is really the key question, isn't it? If your workers are getting less and less productive, what is that actually doing to your bottom line? I mean, you're paying them the same wage, but you're getting less and less output in return. This has a huge effect on your costs. The relationship here is basically a perfect mirror image. It's like a seesaw. When productivity is high, like with that second worker who added 6 sweaters, the cost to make each sweater is low. But when productivity falls, like with the third worker, you're paying the same salary for fewer sweaters. So the cost for each individual sweater goes way, way up. Think about it like this. On one side, you've got high productivity. That worker's salary is spread out over a lot of sweaters. That makes the cost for each additional sweater, what economists call the marginal cost, really low. But on the other side, with low productivity, that exact same salary is only spread over a few sweaters. That means each new one is much, much more expensive to make. And this whole dynamic is what gives us one of the most famous graphs in all of economics, the U-shaped cost curve. At first, as you get more efficient, the average cost to make each item falls. But once diminishing returns really take hold, that cost curve bottoms out and inevitably starts to climb back up again. And you can see it happen right here in the numbers. Look at the ATC column. That's the average total cost. It drops from $12.50 all the way down to a low of $7.50. That's the sweet spot. But then it starts to creep back up. And look at the marginal cost, the cost for just one more sweater. It bottoms out even earlier and then shoots up, pulling that average cost right back up with it. So that classic U shape really comes from two forces that are fighting each other. At first, as you make more sweaters, you're spreading your fixed costs, like your factory's rent, over more units. That's great. It pushes the average cost down. But at the exact same time, diminishing returns are making your variable costs, like labor, more expensive per sweater, and that pushes the average cost up. The shape of the U just shows you which force is winning. So far, we've been stuck with just one knitting machine. But of course, businesses don't stay stuck forever. They grow. So what happens when you can finally think bigger and start planning for the future? Well, this is where we enter the long run. In the long run, all bets are off. Nothing is fixed anymore. Campus Sweaters can buy a second machine, a third, a fourth. They can lease a whole new factory. All of those things that were set in stone before are now choices they can make. All costs are on the table. And this opens up a really powerful strategic tool, the long-run average cost curve. Now, this isn't about what it costs to produce sweaters today. It's a planning curve. It's designed to answer the question, if we want to produce a certain number of sweaters every day in the future, what is the absolute cheapest, most efficient way to set up our company to do that? And here is a perfect example. Let's say their long-term goal is to produce 13 sweaters a day. With just one machine, it costs them almost $7.70 per sweater. But if they plan ahead and build a two-machine factory, they can produce those exact same 13 sweaters for just $6.80 each. That is the most efficient setup for that specific goal. Going any bigger actually makes them less efficient again. This kind of long-run planning uncovers a final, crucial concept for any business that's thinking about growing. When you decide to scale up, are you setting yourself up for a boom in efficiency or a bust because you've become too large and complex? And this brings us to two key ideas. In the beginning, as firms get bigger, they often experience economies of scale. This is the good part. Average costs fall as output goes up, usually because of specialization. But if a company gets too big, it can start to suffer from diseconomies of scale. The organization gets bloated, communication breaks down, and managing it all becomes a nightmare. The average cost per unit can actually start to rise. For every industry, and really for every single firm, there's a sweet spot. It's called the minimum efficient scale. It's the smallest level of output where a company can achieve its lowest possible long-run average cost. For Campus Sweaters, that magic number is 15 sweaters a day. If they produce any more than that, they actually become less efficient. So that's the big takeaway. Every business, from a giant car factory to your local pizza place, is navigating these exact same forces. The factory is chasing massive economies of scale. And the pizza place? Well, they know that sometimes the smartest move isn't to just hire more chefs, but to perfect the system you already have. So the next time you see a business, any business, ask yourself, where are they on the curve? Thanks for watching.